when we go out and when the church sends missionaries out on mission, one of the aims is to eventually establish the church in that place, and that church becomes a diocese and is responsible for its own life and its own finance, its own vocations, institutions, and everything to do with the diocese. You're with Mission Live. This is Roger from the MSC Mission Office. Just in the last week or so, on our MSC mission site, which is www.missacor.org.au, a priest who looks after that and posts things, Father Peter Malone in Melbourne, has posted up some interesting articles on our present bishops from around the world, MSC bishops, and our past bishops. And I want to talk to that a little bit because all of that has a story. And one of the marks of establishing a church in a place is that from the local population, you have priests, religious, and bishops. And of course, we know that from Papua New Guinea in Port Moresby, we have a cardinal. Anyway, something of that story now as we go, just a few pictures. Now, each of these pictures, there's many stories that could be told about them, but I won't tell all the stories, otherwise we would be here all day. So, in the past we've had 13 archbishops and 47 bishops, and you can find a list of those on that Missacor site, www.missacor.org.au. Now, the first bishop there is Bishop Navarre. He was our first bishop, and he was the leader of the expedition to come and evangelise the Melanesians and Micronesians. And there's a long story about how he and his team got to Yule Island in what is now Papua New Guinea. The second one there is Henry Verius. He was the second bishop ordained, a young man, a great apostle, and he died young in his 30s, so he wasn't long a bishop, and his cause has been introduced in Rome, and I'm not too sure what step along the way he is. He might be referred to as venerable. So they were both at Yule Island. Then of course there's Bishop de Beaumanoir there on the left. He was a bishop for 50 years, Yule Island, and he was a bishop there with Bishop Navarre. And he had a great influence on how the whole mission developed. And he was, as I said, a bishop for 50 years. He lived till he was about 82 and died at a place called Kabuna. The next bishop there is Bishop Vestas. He was the second bishop over in Rabaul, or what was called then New Pomerania. And there's Bishop Tobata. He was a Bougainvillean, and this is indicative of how the church develops. The missionary bishops go and evangelize and develop the church, and eventually young men are ordained, and then some of them become bishops. The second bishop there with the flourishing beard is Bishop Coupe, who was the first bishop of New Pomerania. Then we have Bishop Gregory Sinkai. He was also a Bougainvillean diocesan bishop, and Bishop Copus, who was Archbishop of Port Moresby and became Bishop of Kerema. And then we have Bishop Zell, who was the bishop in Darwin, with Bishop Soren, who was a bishop at Yule Island after Bishop de Beaumanoir. Now these two men here would have been young men together at Yule Island, because Bishop Zell began his career there at Yule Island and then was made Bishop of Darwin. So there are some of the bishops and some of the stories. Anyway, that's mission: to evangelize, to bring the word of God, to incorporate people into the church through baptism and instruction, and then establish the church in different places. This is part of the story of mission. Thank you for being with us.